Hello! Today we are making souvenirs for St. Valentines, such desk-type woven figurines. These desk-type valentines are made of flat woven stripes we are well familiar with. Let's try and shape them into such souvenirs. We are going to weave with tubes like this. In order to get such a goldish paint, I've used a spoon of white acrylic paint, a spoon of golden pearl acrylic paint, dropped a bit of red colorant Snezhka, mix the solution thoroughly with water and added 2 spoons of acrylic varnish. The proportions are approximate. You may adjust them to the materials used. As for me, I've added some more pearl paint and water. You watch the effect you've got and decide for yourself. I've coated normal white newspaper tubes with this mixture and dried them with a heater. As a result, I've got amazing tubes. Thanks a lot to the weavers who've shared the recipe of plasticine tubes. I enjoy working with them so much. So, weave a flat 6-pointed stripe. Take a normal tube, flatten it a bit. Plasticine tubes are easy to flatten. Then unite the tubes and start weaving in the same very way you weave a sharp-toothed or herringbone. Continue. Adjoin one more tube. Take notice, please. I don't place it in the very center, but shift it a little in order to alternate points of lengthening. After which you continue the repeated actions. Lead the right tube behind the first one, in front of the rest. The left tube behind the first one, in front of the rest of tubes. Again, the right tube under one onto all, and the left tube under one onto all the tubes. Continue weaving this way up to the required length. In my case, I weave up to 20 centimeters, which is about 8 inches. One of the possible clues to determine the required size is how many times you lengthen. I was weaving until I've got the tubes too short, after which I've lengthened each tube only once. As a result of my experiments, I've come to the optimal length, 20 centimeters. We've reached a challenging moment, lengthening. It is the easiest point to lengthen the tubes. Make a sharp cut. The glue is a bit too thick. Make sure you've got a very sharp angle. Cut a bit to connect the tubes neatly. Press carefully. This joint is supposed to get hidden later. The gap is large enough, the segments aren't going to slide apart in the process of weaving. Continue weaving a few rows. Now it's time to lengthen the tube, the next tube, right in this point. Why in this very point? Because it's easy to hide the joint with the following coils. Continue in the same very way. I've woven the second 20 centimeters long stripe. Now it's time to shape a heart. In order to get the curves smooth, I roll a stripe this way. The tubes are plasticine-like, they hold the shape very well. Roll the second stripe in the same very way. They are going to unroll later, but the curves will be shaped. The following step is uniting two stripes and tying them together. We are going to shape the upper part later, so far let's unite the halves. What are we doing for this purpose? Let's take one more tube and wrap the tails carefully. As a rule, 4 or 5 coils are quite enough. This is going to be the front side. So 5 coils. I fasten the wrapping tube between the basic tubes. Later on I'm going to use it as a pole. Now my task is distributing the poles into smooth couples. The former wrapping tube is going to become the third pole in one of the bunches. Distribute the tube smoothly to all directions for weaving a stand. Then take a working tube. Well, you can actually join one more tube and continue weaving with the wrapping tube. It's up to you to choose the preferred technique. Weave in a normal rope-like technique, at first hugging 2 basic tubes at a time. In a couple of rows I'm going to distribute the couples into single tubes, in order to keep the cloth tight. Let me show you the process in a bit more detailed way for the newcomers. 1 coil, 2, 3, 4. Press the rows tightly to each other. In the 4th row, distribute the basic tubes and hug each tube individually. Lengthen and continue. You can weave 6 rows and just cut the tails. I've tried edge trimming, but it is inconvenient for such a small item. Well, actually, if you'd like to, you may trim the edge. This time I've decided to try a new option I found on the net. Sorry, unfortunately I don't remember the author's name. If anybody knows the author, I will be happy to share the link. The point is leaving short stumps like this, dropping a bit of glue onto them, and shaping the last row around the stumps. As a result, I'm grabbing the stumps, fastening the rows with glue, and hiding the stumps, making the edge perfectly neat. So the stumps are hidden unseen. The glue prevents the rows from sliding apart, and the edge is nice looking without any special trimming. Thanks a lot for the idea to the author. It is the way I finish my heart-shaped figurine. Let me add a few words on the tubes used. At first I supposed to use hollow tubes, as I usually do for flat stripes. However, since straw weaving technique is combined with willow weaving here, and the stand is seen very well, take a look please. This stand is rather ugly. This is my first heart-shaped souvenir made in this technique. The heart itself is okay, while the stand woven with hollow tubes looks ugly. This is my second experiment, which proves that the hollow tubes are not meant for the heart stand. That's why for my further items I've used normal tubes rolled over a stripe of about 8 centimeters, about 3 inches wide, onto a knitting needle number 1.5. I like the way the stand made of these tubes looks. By the way, the heart itself woven with the tubes like this looks rather nice too. That's why, based on my experience, I'd recommend using normal tire tubes coated in a plasticine-like technique. The item is rather flexible, you can shape it the way you like. As a rule, I drop some glue between the stripes and press them with a closing clip. After a while the glue is fastened and the stable figurine is ready. You may decorate the item any way you prefer, all kind of beads or pendants. To my mind, it is a nice looking souvenir for St. Valentines and a nice way to express your feelings.